This show is a proud member of the Blue Collar Roots Network and is created for professionals and people who know what they're doing already. The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the network or the sponsors. Do everything according to government regulations, OSHA safety practices, and manufacturer listing and labeling instructions. Not just because someone said so on a podcast. Now, on with the show.
You're listening to the Tool Pros Podcast.
They plan their vacations around factory tours of their favorite tool manufacturers. Brent Ridley and Billy Noth.
Hello and welcome to the Tool Pros Podcast. This is your host, Brent Ridley, and as always, sitting virtually next to Billy Noth. How you doing, Billy?
I'm doing great, Brent.
Perfect, man. Well, guys, we appreciate you guys joining us for this episode. We don't have a guest this week, but what we're doing is Billy and I are going to have a little tool free-for-all. We're just going to discuss all kind of different tools. We're gearing up for summertime. All kind of new tools are coming out. Some exciting stuff is hitting the shelves in the field, and we're excited to talk about it. But first, I want to talk about Robinair and KC Tool. Robinair is a new sponsor of ours, and you may hear an ad here or there in our podcast, and they've been fantastic so far. But KC Tool, guys, go check them out at kctoolco.com. They're a great company. They're straight out of Kansas City. They sell German-made hand tools. Some of these German-made hand tools are some of the finest tools in the world, really. So go check them out. I got bit by the German hand tool bug a long time ago. I got several pair of Knipex or Knipex or however you want to call them. Weeha, Wera. I got all that good stuff, and I love them to death. So, guys, go check out kctoolco.com. So, Billy, during the free-for-all here, now we just started talking about German tools. I've recently had the adjustable like pliers wrench style from Weeha. I really, really like those style. I've been playing with them. I really like that kind of stuff. What has been your experience with the German tools?
I've had a really good experience with them. As far as Knipex, Knipex, whatever you want to say, like you said, I have their linesman's pliers. I love them. I have their pair of their Cobra pliers. I have their plier wrench, and I like them all. I did just get one of their automatic wire strippers.
Tell us how you really feel about them, Billy.
I liked it the first couple times I used it, and I don't know if I'm doing something wrong with them, but they seem to not be stripping the way they're supposed to at this point, and it was only after about a day's worth of use.
Did you already break them, Billy?
I may have broken them. I don't know. I actually may have broken them. I did do a lot of wiring the day before, so I was using them a ton, but needless to say, it shouldn't really be an issue with them being broken after a day's worth of use.
No, if it's going to break after the first day, it's something we don't want, we don't need. But what were you doing with them? Low voltage wire, or regular 10 gauge wire? What were you using on it?
I went anywhere from 18 gauge to 10 gauge.
Okay, so you're doing the whole gamut there, huh?
Mostly control stuff, mostly 18, but then there was a few instances where 14 gauge and then up to 10. Yeah, and 10's the max on it. So on that stripper, 10 is the max. So I don't know if I did something with it. They don't seem to be stripping the way they're supposed to. Like it's not pulling the sheathing off the way it's supposed to. So
I guess like the trigger mechanism and all that stuff still working the same like it was before, right?
Yeah, everything looks like it wants to work, but it's just not biting and pulling the sheathing off, which kind of concerned that I may have broken it in the first day of using it.
We'll get back with our guys over at KC Tool, and I'm sure they'll be able to point us in the right direction on what we need to do or what you need to do to fix it or repair it or what needs to be done to take care of that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
I tell you what, I got one of the Weeha 26-in-1 multi-screwdrivers.
You and the multi-screwdrivers.
I'm a multi-screwdriver guy. I really do. I love them, man. I've tried a bunch of them, and I'll tell you what, I went on this podcast, and I've talked about the Roll Gear for many, many times now. I've sang its praises. And I'll tell you guys, the Roll Gear still has the very best ratcheting mechanism out there, bar none. The Roll Gear is badass when it comes to the ratcheting. It's so smooth, but I've gotten very displeased with how the bits fit in the back end of the Roll Gear. I'll be honest with you, I'm really rough on tools. Even if it's a multi-screwdriver or something like that, if I need to beat on it for a second to try to get something pried in there or beat on the back of that screwdriver, I will. Because I'm expecting it to hold up and last no matter what it is.
Right.
So unfortunately, I've beat on it and I've kind of monkeyed with it, and it's got to where it doesn't hold the bits in the rear very well, and sometimes the bits don't want to slide back in the rear end of it very well, so you got to kind of push them in there with like another wrench. So the roll gear has found its place out of my tool bag now. The Weehaw has taken the place of it, and it's been great so far. It's not a ratcheting style, unfortunately. It's just a simple screwdriver, but you push the back in and the back cap pops out, and you got 27 different attachments, and you can buy different ones. There's like a tradesman one, and then there's a technician one. So there's different setups for the back of those, for the different bits, and they're real small bits too. They're not the long ones. The roll gear has the long double-sided ones. The Weehaw has the shorter ones, and the Weehaw ones, they lock in the end of it very well also, so they don't come out. I really like it because the other day I was just changing out a small control interface in a church, and I had to use a small Allen head, and I had to use a small regular slotted screwdriver, and both of those were right in the back of the Weehaw. In any other instance, and then I had to use a regular Phillips head to mount it to the wall. So in any other instance, I would have had to use 3 different screwdrivers or 3 different tools. I used the Allen keys by itself, the small thermostat screwdriver, and then the regular Phillips head. But the Weehaw took the place out of all 3 of those, and it was awesome.
So the Weehaw went down to a thermostat screwdriver.
Correct.
On the same. Nice. See, I like that idea.
It's really nice. But unfortunately, I left that screwdriver at that church that day. So I got to go back and get it, man. I got so mad because I'd only had it for a few days and then I left it there. But I got to go back and get it where it can go back in my tool bag, go back to its home where it belongs.
I hate when I leave tools. That kills me.
It doesn't happen very often to me. I think we've talked about this with Ralph and stuff when they were on here. It doesn't happen very often to me at all. For some reason, that day I just happened to leave it there. I'll tell you what happened, honestly. This is no joke either. I was working and I changed out the controller. I went to the controls computer because they have one central computer there where we can look at all the controls. So I went to the controls computer to make sure it was working. I set my screwdriver right down there beside that computer, and then Ralph called me on the phone. So then I started talking to Ralph on the phone, and I guarantee you I got up and I left it right there. And it'll be right there when I go back.
I blame Ralph.
I blame Ralph too. It's all Ralph's fault. It's called the Weehaw Ultra Driver, and it's about $30 on KC Tool. So it's really not overly priced or anything like that. It's very fairly priced, and I would suggest you guys check it out if you're really interested in some multi-tools or multi-screwdriver, excuse me.
I see they make that style screwdriver in an insulated version too.
The 26-in-1 and the insulated version?
Yeah.
Oh, very nice. I would like to see that.
Yeah, that looks very cool. And that too, I mean, for an insulated screwdriver set, you're only talking $50.
Yeah, that's a heck of a deal. Now, I'll tell you something else that Weehaw's coming out with. I just saw it on KC Tool's Instagram. KC Tool, the guys over there are on, I guess, company research and development, but it looks like they're just having a whole bunch of fun over there in Germany. They went to the big tool show, international tool show in Germany, and they went to the Weehaw booth, and there's a Weehaw called, it's Weehaw Speedy Driver is what it's called, Speed E Driver. So it is a battery-powered screwdriver, automatic screwdriver, but it's not any larger than your standard screwdriver. So like that 26-in-1, the Speedy Driver is not any bigger than that 26-in-1. And that to me is really exciting because some of these other battery-powered screwdrivers, I guess, are big and bulky and all that good stuff, but these ones really small and slim. I think it's going to be cool.
It sounds cool because for the little things where you've got those machine screws, Lennox is known for their mounting a pressure switch with a machine screw, which is damn near an inch long. And it takes forever and a day to try to get it out with a regular nut driver. You want to break out your drill. So something like that would be perfect for that.
Yeah, that would be perfect for that. What's cool about it is I was watching a few videos of it because I don't have any first-hand experience on it. But what I've seen is it'll drive the screw in automatically. And then once it gets down tight enough close, then it stops. And then you can use the screwdriver as kind of a ratcheting screwdriver and tighten it on down as tight as you need to go.
That sounds interesting.
It won't over torque it. It won't strip it out. None of that stuff happens.
Very cool.
Yeah, exactly. I'm excited, man. That looks really neat. I don't know the pricing of any of that yet. It'll come out soon. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, me too. That sounds amazing.
KC Tool has some other cool tool brands that I really don't have any experience with, like Philo and Gador and any of those. Do you know anything about any of those, Billy?
I really don't. I see a lot of the stuff posted, and checking out KC Tool's site, they've got a ton of different brands, and I'm surprised because I try to stay up on the tools, but yeah, a lot of these I've heard of but don't have any experience with.
I've heard of like the big ones. I've heard of Nipix, Wera, Weha, those brands. But some of the Philo stuff in the Ghidorah, I don't want to sound ignorant or out of place. And somebody I'm sure will definitely correct me here when I say this. But a lot of it looks very similar to the other name brands that I was talking about. So
Right.
what I mean is some of the Philo looks like some of the Nipix or Wera and all that stuff. So that all looks very similar. Wera has some really cool open-ended box wrenches and stuff like that. They call them the Joker wrenches. They look really daggum cool, man. I really want to buy a set, but it's like $300 for a set. So I haven't forked out that kind of money yet.
That's a lot of money. And I can't see going out and grabbing another set of wrenches or whatever if I've already got a set that kind of works. So if I was at a tool show and I saw them and they were absolutely that amazing, then I can see it. But to not be able to try them first, I guess I'm kind of gun shy that way. Or cheap, one of the two.
I get it. Like some of the stuff's really nice, but it's just hard to swallow the price tag on it.
Right.
I guess we can get away from KC Tools a little bit, but KC Tools, they're fantastic guys. If you haven't already noticed, they're a good sponsor for the show. Go check them out, kctoolco.com. Use the discount code TOOLPROS and you'll get 10% off. Any of that stuff we talked about, go check it out. I noticed you posted a picture the other day of the Pipe Vise. How do you like that thing, Billy?
I'm liking that. It's come in very handy. I don't know down in your market how much you deal with gas and whatnot, but to change a gas valve, it comes in very, very handy where you're not sitting there doing the 2-pipe shuffle on the floor and trying to back that gas valve off the manifold. Like you said, I mean, I posted the picture. I've posted a couple other pictures using it. It really is. It's a great little tool, a little stand, just that third hand to do what you need to do and do it kind of in a gentlemanly fashion. You're not going to kill yourself. You're not going to bang your fingers. You're not going to get hurt. It's a great little tool. I like it.
Oh, absolutely, man. I think it's fantastic. Now, I'll tell you what happened to mine. Before I tell you what happened to mine, the story on what happened to my Pipe Vise, explain to the folks who are listening what the Pipe Vise is, because we're trying to paint a picture for guys to imagine what it is who haven't seen the post that we're talking about.
So the Pipe Vise is basically, if you could picture a pipe wrench or a union wrench, which a lot of guys call them because it's got the spring-loaded head, spring-loaded jaw on it. So a lot of guys around here, they call them union wrenches. So it's got one of those that is sitting horizontal to whatever surface you're working on. And it's basically welded to a giant foot. It's all cast, it's all one piece, but basically that's kind of what it looks like. So it gives you that stand, that wrench that's kind of mounted solidly to whether it be a bench or sitting on the floor, and you don't have to worry about it tipping. You don't have to worry about it moving on you. They make other versions of it that you could actually screw to the back of a truck. You can put it in a receiver for a hitch, so you can work on it right on the back of your truck, and then it definitely isn't moving anywhere. But basically, it gives you that third hand. That is if it was just a wrench locked on, and then all you have to use is one more wrench to tighten something, loosen something, whatever you need to do.
Yep, it really is like that third hand that you need, man. It's awesome. It really is. And it's an ingenious idea, and I can't believe it hasn't been thought of before or brought up by anybody. And I can't believe this guy hadn't hit a gold mine by now, but I think he's still relatively small. But if you guys who are looking for the Pipe Vise, I think it's pipevise.com, Billy?
Yes, I believe that's what it is.
While Billy's looking that up, I'll tell you what happened to mine. I had the Pipe Vise, and it was riding around in my truck for a couple weeks, and it was great. I used it for several jobs. We do a lot of gas piping jobs. We do a lot of pool heater gas piping, stuff like that. So riding around in my truck for a couple weeks, and my dad saw it a few times in the back of my truck, and he says, man, that thing's really nice. Because my dad runs the plumbing side of our company, and I run all of our HVAC stuff. I do primarily all of our gas piping, too. But my dad saw it, and he says, man, I really like that. And I said, okay, that's nice. I said, I can get you one. You know, if you want one, I'll just go ahead and order it. And he says, man, no, don't worry about it. I said, all right. So a few days go along, and I can't find the Pipe Vise in the back of my truck. I don't know where it's at. He jacked the Pipe Vise out the back of my truck, and it was riding around in the back of his truck. And it's still back there today. I got to order another one for myself. So, but he does a lot of plumbing, and he does a lot of shower valves and things like that. And with the shower valves, you have a lot of the male fittings where you got to screw on the female fittings and stuff like that. So he uses that for that kind of stuff, and the Pipe Vise makes it so much better. It's a breeze with that.
I had posted the one picture. I had changed a 3-way zone valve for a hot water coil on an air handler, and it was great. Even I wasn't threading anything. I didn't have to thread or unthread anything, but it was a nice third hand soldering everything in. So it kept it up off the floor. I didn't have to worry about burning anything. I could get the torch underneath it, and it worked out great. I could solder everything down on the floor and then be able to put everything back up and then tighten the unions that whoever had installed everything nicely put unions in so it didn't have to be cut out. And it made it a breeze.
That's pretty cool. It's got so many uses, and I guarantee you guys would love it if they gave it a chance. So guys, go check it out. Pipevise.com. It's spelled Pipe Vise with a VISE.com. Also, there is a lot going on in the cordless tool world right now. I guess Milwaukee's gearing up for their new product symposium. That's in May. So you see in a few little products trickle out here and there. One that I really was interested in, they have a new M12 rivet tool. And apparently around where I live in Georgia, I've never seen this done before, but apparently people put together ductwork with a riveting tool. We've always just used sheet metal screws where I'm at. Have you seen folks put together ductwork with rivets, Billy?
I have. I know you and I spoke about this before, but we had used it in the shop that I worked at. We had used it for assembling ductwork, putting square throats in the elbows, and we would put them in there. So God forbid a spot weld had failed or something like that. It would give you that stability, that insurance that nothing was going to fall apart. But I've also seen it where people, when they install the duct mate on the end of a big commercial fitting, they'll throw a couple of rivets through there. So there's no screw heads or any pointy part of the screws sticking through while people are trying to manipulate the ductwork and put it together.
Sure. Now, Billy, once again, I'm going to show my ignorance a little bit here because I've never really used rivets for anything. Would you have to drill a hole first and then pop the rivet in it?
Yes.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to double check. So really, to put rivets in ductwork, you're doing double the work.
Yeah, if you're not using a bit tip screw and whatnot, then yeah, you would have to drill a hole and then pop the rivet in.
Yeah, so it's a lot of extra work. I don't know, is it that much better of a hold, Billy?
I think it is because they generally tend not to tear out as long as they're put in right. Screws, how many times you go up to a unit, the screw hole is stripped out.
Sure.
Because somebody over tightened it or whatever. And it could be even a screw that's not typically taken in and out, but somebody gets on it with an impact wrench and impact driver, and that's it. It's done. So with a rivet, if it's definitely something that's not going to come apart again, it's definitely a very solid connection.
That makes a whole lot of sense. I could really see it coming in handy on something that you cannot use a screw on to put together. Like, let's just say you have a long dryer vent run or something of that nature, or a commercial dryer vent, things like that, where you can't have that screw in there because you'll get the lint build up on it, things like that. So I could definitely see where it could come in handy for that kind of stuff.
You do have a little bit of a part of the pop rivet that would protrude into the duct. But if you're using kind of the right size where it's not too long of a rivet, what's left in there is not much. So you don't really have to worry about it. And they make great spots for if you need an access panel. And I don't know if you guys don't really do too much with oil, and I don't know how much commercial boiler stuff that you have to deal with where you've got a little flap that you can kind of look in and see the flame and whatnot. That style of a doorway, if you had to kind of just slip it to the side, be able to look inside and then close it, a rivet works out great for that. Screws they back out, they loosen up, and the holes get stripped. And a rivet, you can't go wrong with them. I mean, they hold the damn airplane together. So
they do, exactly. And I was going to say, that's been my only experience because I did air conditioning work for a while, did HVAC service. I'd actually started out doing duct work and stuff like that. I didn't like doing the duct work, so I quit doing HVAC work for a year. And I went to work for Gulfstream Aerospace, and they make private jets. They make some of the most luxurious private jets out there, man, like $100 million stuff, like big time jets. They would put the wings together and stuff with rivets. But I did all the electronics while I was there, so I didn't really do any of the riveting, but I would see them putting together the wings with the rivets and stuff. But it seemed like they used like a 2-part tool, like they had to have something along the back of it when they riveted. Do you know anything about that, Billy?
that's because that's a regular rivet. It's not a pop rivet. It's not pulling the mandrel through the rivet and distorting that back end. They're kind of hammered on rivets. So you do need something to mushroom the backside of that. Okay,
gotcha. So it's a different style. Okay, well, that makes a lot of sense. Guys, I want to take a minute right here to thank Robinair. They are a great sponsor of this podcast, and without them, we wouldn't be able to make this possible. We thank them very much, and I just wanted to take a minute and highlight some of their new leak detectors they got coming out. They have 3 different models coming out, the LD3, the LD5, and the LD7. I'm excited for all these models because they all have really cool features. The LD3 is kind of a base model unit. It comes with a 2-year warranty. It's made right here in the USA. It's got a 17-inch probe. It's got a real short warm-up time. It works on all common refrigerants, R410A, R22, 134, even works with R1234YF, which you find in cars nowadays. The sensitivity is down to 0.05 ounces a year. It's got a long life sensor, 10-year lifespan on the sensor, which is crazy and unheard of. Some of these others you got to change out yearly, biannual, stuff like that. This thing will last for 10 years. Seems very cool because I've heard of the infrared and the heated diode, but I haven't heard of this, and I'm excited to try it out and see what it's all about. They also have the LD5. The cool thing about the LD5 is it has a color graphic LCD display on it. So as you're searching for those unique refrigerants, this detectors will do them all. The LD7 has all the features that we've already talked about, plus it has a UV light for detecting injected dye. So that little UV flashlight that you got in your truck, you can throw that away if you buy LD7 because you already have that built into your leak detector, which is awesome. And it also has a pinpoint graphing mode for displaying leak sizes over a time window. So like over a period of time, you can graph a leak size, which seems so awesome and so cool. I don't know that anybody else on the market can do that today. So guys, if these sound like some interesting features to you, go check out robinair.com. Great company, great people, great products. Go give them a chance. Let them know the Tool Pro sent you. Another M12 tool that's coming out real soon that I saw, it'll be available in April or May-ish, is the M12 Milwaukee inflator. So it's an air inflator. So flat tires, things like that. The first thing that popped into my mind was expansion tanks. Because how many expansion tanks are installed and they're never pressurized to the right PSI?
True.
I'm excited about that. I think that'd be really cool. And it claims that it can inflate a light commercial truck or a passenger vehicle tire from 0 to full on one battery charge, which is pretty impressive.
That's pretty cool.
The only other air inflator out there on the market today that I know of from, let's just say, the main tool manufacturers is made by Ryobi. And they had one on sale at Home Depot at Christmas time, and I was inches away from buying it. But I realized I had to buy the Ryobi battery and stuff like that, so I kind of backed off a little bit, but I was really close because I think it was on sale for like $30 or something, really cheap. But I did hold off on buying it. I used a little self-control there.
Would you have bought that simply because of the expansion tank?
Exactly. That's what I would use it for. Of course, if I could use it for a flat tire or something, yes, but I got a ball of nitrogen in the back of my truck. I'll jam in my tire if it goes flat, that kind of thing. I wouldn't really use it for a flat tire. I would use it for expansion tanks because I hate to say it, I don't know if even our plumbers are doing it right or not. They got a bicycle pump on their truck, but I don't know if they're doing it right or not. They should be, but I think they would be more prone to use it if they could set the PSI, because on the inflator, you can set the PSI to what you want it. So let's just say I wanted it to be at 55 PSI. You could dial it into 55 PSI, hook it up to it, turn it on and go, and then it will shut itself off when it gets to 55 PSI.
For those who are listening that may not understand the expansion tank setup, why would you have to change that? Why would you have to adjust?
On my end, it's purely on a residential home or a light commercial building for potable water and just your water service in general. This is not a boiler setup or anything like that because it may be different. I don't know about any of that. All I know is just kind of a regular water system in a house. You have an expansion tank in there for expansion and contraction that has a bladder inside that tank that will help with the expansion and contraction over time because of the heat and the cool. But so you want to be able to set that PSI in that expansion tank to match that of the pressure of the home. So every home or light commercial building you go to has a different PSI in it. So I could go to one house, my house could have 55 PSI. I could go to my neighbor's house and he may be running at 65 PSI. Normally, it's not over about 75 because that's bad. You get into a whole pressure regulators going bad and stuff like that. But normally, every house is different. So you want to be able to set that expansion tank to match the pressure of the house.
Okay.
Is that kind of how you do it on a boiler, Billy?
To be totally honest, I am very bad with expansion tanks just for the simple fact that until I started working for the company I'm working for now, didn't really do a lot of boiler work. So I am learning as I go.
Fair answer, because we don't do any boilers here. I do see a lot of them being installed on the guys up north, like Eric Ani with a mechanical hub and stuff like that. I see him putting them in on a lot of boilers and stuff. So I do know they belong on there. Like I said, I don't know if they match the pressure or what they do with it, but I know just on a regular hot water system in a home, you definitely have to match the pressure to the house.
I know you have to play with them. So I just don't know, as far as you kind of don't want to go over pressurizing it to more than what the pressure relief is, because then it's not doing its job.
Sure.
So you definitely want to keep it under. Where exactly under, I don't know. And I have a hard time trying to find somebody who actually can give me a straight answer other than just put it on there and be done with it. Don't even worry about it.
Unfortunately, that's the way a lot of the plumbers and stuff do around my area. They put the expansion tank on there and they don't do anything with it. And some of these tanks only pressurized to like 25 or 35 PSI, like from the factory. So you're way below where you're at. And so let's just say you got 55 PSI in the house and you turn on the water. That tank set at 35 or 25, whatever, from the factory, it's going to go ahead and that water pressure is going to smash that bladder in, and you're not going to have a whole lot of expansion or contraction left on that bladder because it's smashed all the way in.
Right. And you find that on boiler too, because like an EX30 for a boiler, it will come pre-charged for 12 PSI. So 12 PSI, and your typical for a residential boiler relief would be at 30. So at least you'd want to be close to that, I would imagine.
Sure.
I like the idea of the little inflators, the little cordless inflators, because that is a perfect setup for that.
It's such a time saver. It's when you give somebody that, there's no excuse not for them to do it the correct way at that point. All right, I wanted to bring up another tool that I saw recently. It's the Hitachi powered cooler. Now, it's not available in North America yet, but I think if enough of us kick and scream, it'll come here. But it's a Hitachi powered cooler. It takes the Hitachi batteries and it powers the cooler. It cools and heats. It goes down to -4 or heats up to 104. I have no idea on the longevity, the runtime, or anything like that. But to me, that sounds really awesome. That would be something I'd put on the truck immediately. No big deal. No questions asked, because those summer days are hot. Get tired of buying ice. Get tired of throwing ice in the cooler. Get tired of that slushy, wet mess. I guess with that, you get the cold without the mess of the ice. That's what I'm excited about with that. What do you think, Billy?
I like the idea of that. I really do. I like a cooler full of ice. I like the icy water, and especially in the middle of the summer, you stick your hand in there and instantly you seem to be cooled off. But you grab a drink like a Gatorade or something that has a little bit of ridges back behind that label, and it holds the water, and that water winds up all over you. And yes, it feels good, but then you're going into a customer's house with a wet lap looking like you peed yourself. Yeah, I like the idea of the cooler, that plug-in cooler, or that cordless cooler.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Now, I don't know what I would use it for as far as heating things. I guess just like anything, you could put it in there if you wanted to keep something warm for a little while, your lunch, or even like just run into the grocery store and you buy something and you want to keep it cool or warm on the way home from the grocery store. Just simple things like that you could use it for.
I guess I like the idea of the warm, but I can't really see, because what'd you say? It was like a max of like a 105 or something.
Yeah, 104, 105.
So it's really not going to be super warm.
I guess just enough to keep it from cooling off fast. That's all I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Like I say, it's not even available here in North America, but hopefully it will be one day. And we can get our hands on it, test it out for real, and see what it's all about.
Yeah.
What do you think about Makita's showing some prototypes overseas about like a battery-powered coffee maker, things like that?
I like the idea. I can't really see needing it, especially, I guess, being more in the service end of it. I mean, yes, I'm in the truck. Yes, you could always brew a cup of coffee, I guess. But I think if I was more on a job site most of the day, I could see using it. Because I drink a lot of coffee. I probably shouldn't, but I do. I go back and forth because I do see those posts. I do like the idea, though, that Makita's, they're not just that aqua and black and white anymore. I'm seeing a lot of the burgundy tools and other pretty cool colors, which I think is pretty neat.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. They got like their new impact that should be coming out here shortly, the TD171. I've seen it in black. I've seen it in like the maroon. I've seen it in several different colors, like kind of like a gold color. It definitely looks cool. I'm excited to see that.
Definitely looks neat. Wanted to just give a quick update because I had mentioned as far as the Hitachi cordless nailer that they had sent me to play with. And I have to say, I used it briefly. I was just installing some trim around a bathroom window, and I absolutely love that thing. It's a long number. It's the NT1865DM. So it's a 2.5 inch straight finish nailer. So it'll take 16 gauge nails and nail them through. And I mean, it buries them so perfectly. I mean, you can adjust the height and how deep you want to put that nail, and whether you want to put it on the rapid fire, whether you want to put it on a single shot every time you pull the trigger. It's got every feature a standard pneumatic finish nailer would have. This battery powered tool has. And like I said, I didn't use it long, so I don't know longevity of the battery, but so far so good.
Kyle with R&R Buildings, he says they're great. He loves them, and that's all he does every day, all day. So he says they're fantastic. When you talk about the rapid fire, you're talking about when you can just depress the end of it and it fires in at the same time. You just keep the trigger pulled down and depress the end and it fires every time. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that's what I was getting at as far as that. And Hitachi claims on their 3 amp hour battery, which is small, they claim 1,500 nails.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a whole bunch.
Yeah.
And their 3 amp hour battery is a slim pack. So they have a 3 amp hour in the slim pack. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I'd like to see, I have more work to do. So I'd like to see how this thing actually holds up. But so far, so good. I mean, I loved it.
Absolutely. You'll have to give us a little bit more update as you use it later on. Definitely. Now, is there any like a recharge time after you shoot a nail? Does it take a minute to recharge before you can shoot another? Or is it like automatic as fast as you can shoot them in?
It's basically, I didn't use it on what I called the rapid fire, but it was definitely set for the next shot. So if it takes a second to reset, that's a lot.
That's pretty cool. That's what I've always wondered about with the cordless nailers and stuff like that is, does it take a minute? Because obviously it has to use some kind of compressed air technology to do that. So I didn't know if it took a minute to recharge that compressed air or whatever it needs to do to recharge it to throw that next nail in there.
It's pretty cool the way they do it. I know like some of the old cordless stuff, Porter Cable actually had one that you would actually pump the head of. You would actually put it down and actually push down on the whole nailer, back and forth, up and down, and whatever it was, 5-6 times, and it would get you another 10 shots for finish nails. There's no battery, there's no nothing. It was just basically you filling an air cylinder just by pumping it up.
Yeah, old-fashioned manpower pumping it up. At our shop, we got a pass load. It uses the little, I think it's CO2. I think it's little CO2 canisters that you fit in there, and it uses those. And while that's nice that you don't have to use an air hose, it's still another something else you have to purchase along with it. Not only is it battery powered, but also you have to purchase a little canister with it. So it's kind of, I'm not a big fan of it personally.
Pass load, they dominated the market when it came to having a hoseless nailer with their butane cells in the batteries. And not having to do anything as far as framing nailers and stuff. They dominated it. But I have to say, a lot of the Hitachi stuff that I've seen come out and some of the Milwaukee stuff that's coming out or is out as far as nailers, you can't beat it.
I think they've really stepped up their game. Hitachi, for the longest time, I thought of them as kind of like a second-rate brand. I thought them Ryobi and Hitachi, and I kind of put them in the same category. But Hitachi's really stepped it up with some of their stuff, and they've even come out with a multi-voltage battery, kind of like the DeWalt FlexVolt. The Hitachi's coming out with the multi-voltage battery, so it's going to be a 18 or a 36 volt. So they're going to be able to get a lot of power out of one battery, and they've got a lot of tools already ready for that platform. So I'm excited to see that come out and see where they're going to take that stuff.
I know they have a lot of their newer stuff, the cordless bandsaw. They've got the sheet metal shear, like a unishear style. For that, which just, it looks great. The rotary hammer drills, you're not going to need to plug anything else in at all anymore. Everything's just going to be battery.
It's all going that way. Hitachi, I don't hold any hard feelings against you. I know you just had this whole product release and review about this multi-volt stuff, and I'm 30 minutes away from your plant. But you flew everybody in the world out there. You flew all the guys from Instagram, which they're all great guys. I all love all the guys from Instagram. You flew them all out there and you put them up in Chateau Elan, this really nice hotel. But I didn't get an invite. But that's okay. It's okay, Hitachi. I still love you. You wouldn't even have to pay for my hotel. You could have saved some money there. But you know what? That's okay. I'm still going to support them. I'm still going to love them because I think they're doing some really good stuff.
Yep.
We're approaching the end of the show, guys, and we've talked about several tools here, and I hope you guys have made it all the way to the end. We thank you very, very much for listening. A lot of this stuff you can find online. We've given you a lot of the websites where you can find a lot of this stuff. kctoolco.com, Pipe Vise, you can find them online. Of course, Milwaukee and Hitachi, all those good stuff. You can find them online. And Makita and all those good guys. But also, guys, go check out Robinair. Robinair.com. They got some really cool leak detectors that they just put on the market. The LD3, LD5, and LD7. The 5 and the 7 look really cool to me. They have some graphic displays on them. So, guys, go check that out. But if you've made it to the end with us, I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Find us on iTunes or Stitcher. Leave us a review. Let us know how we're doing. We appreciate it very much. And I guess we'll catch you on the next one.
See you later, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Tool Pros Podcast. The best way to listen to this podcast is by using your smartphone or other web-connected device, and subscribing using the podcast app on Apple devices or the Stitcher app, or Google Store for Android devices. You can find all of the shows on the Blue Collar Roots Network by going to bluecollarroots.com. From all of us at Blue Collar Roots, thank you for listening.